right.
All right.
Episode 14.
14.
I said it first.
You did. A Realm Reborn.
Cheers. Oh, damn it. I was going to say that. Fine. It's great to have our 14th episode rolling around. It's good to be consistent. Something that,
this is great.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it. Let's see. We
Gone through some shakeups already.
Yes, yeah, we had to adjust for a few things, but we've been having a lot of fun with it, and we've been getting a lot of good feedback from not only locals but people who have joined us on our little crusade of content.
And as of now, as of the recording of this video, we are this close to 300 subscribers. So if you could, leave a subscribe if you like what you see. We have gameplay videos. We just posted a gameplay video of us just playing Shadowverse. Mm-hmm. Just a little video of us playing the starter decks. It was... What two starters?
Oh,
it was Forest
and Dragon. No, it was amazing.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got wrecked. And no, there was a lot of good comments on that. And yeah, if you like what you saw there, just make sure you subscribe and let's get to 300.
Yeah, and if you're enjoying like the gameplay videos, just let us know, because we're always, we're playing all the time, but if you want to see more matchups or different kinds of matchups, it just helps to comment and communicate with us. But kind of on the way we've been doing the last video, we have a mix of a bunch of different games today. Should we start off with an apology to? I'll start off with an apology. I'll just start out.
Apology videos are all the rage right now. So
yes.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Yes. So we were having some funsies last week. We went over not too many spoilers. It was like 5 or 6 cards, I think, for Dusk Till Dawn. I have not played Flesh and Blood in quite a while, and I was very grumpy because I just feel like LSS hates warriors.
To be fair, I kind of rage baited you a little bit. I knew
but
you were grumpy.
It's fun, yeah. And the Iron Song versus, those are the gloves. I was just like, nah, it's garbage. It doesn't do this. Dorinthia still relies on old reliable Brayforge. But I've been trying to catch up in the Flesh and Blood scene. I've been watching a lot of Josh Lau and other content creators. No, the gloves are really good. They block not quite, almost as well. I think it's like 1 less health. But the opportunity to constantly on the initial swing threaten, hey, I have an on-hit effect. And I think especially in this game, anything that says when this hits, you get a bonus.
Well, especially in Dorinthia, right? Because she has so many reprise effects that it's like now I'm incentivizing you to block, but it's kind of like goading you into doing it, right? Because it's like, please put a card down on this chain so that I can...
Yeah, and for as long as I can remember, basically your opponent always kind of had in their head against Dorinthia, what if I just don't block? And yeah, you'll get the hit and they'll take damage, but if you don't present go again, 9 out of 10 times they're just like, I didn't block, so wrap up your nonsense and now it's my turn. Now, every single turn, as long as you have the gloves on board, you're threatening this is going to happen, and then my next turn is going to be even more annoying for you. I kind of appreciate that Warrior probably isn't S+ tier, because then the gloves aren't going to be $700 and I have to take a mortgage out and all that.
I have seen I've seen pictures on Twitter of the cold foil of this though. Holy crap! So like they are gorgeous.
I don't know why they would do it, but there isn't like an extended art of this, is there? Because it's focusing on the gloves.
Don't know.
Okay, we
can check. So the Collector Center on Fab TCG does have like all the...
Oh, okay.
All the... But anyway, while we're...
Yeah, no. But I was... So, no, I think they're great. I don't think they're going to push her until like, insane tier or anything like that. But I think every step of the way that that Dorinthia or Bolton can progress a bit further, it certainly helps. No extended? Okay. But anywho, apologies. I'm sure people who saw that were probably like, he's an idiot, and I am. So, yeah. I was trying to think what other cards... Oh, and there was the... it's the yellow Dorinthia specialization that if you block... Yeah, Chorus of Iron Song. This was another card I'm like, you're never going to play this. There isn't room for it, blah, blah, blah. But actually... the fact that if you have a really crappy hand, you can block this with Unity, and then your next turn again gets a courage token, which puts you back into like now I'm going to be annoying again instead of just having a naked swing.
And blocking for 3 on a non-attack action can sometimes be relevant, right? Like Bolton got a lot of support this set, and so we need more non-attack actions to not trigger his own effect. So things like that, because every time you block with an attack action, if Bolton is charged, their attack gets +1. So that can be pretty bad for you if you're playing against the Bolton. So this being a non-attack action that blocks for 3 makes that really good too. And of course the unity effect, so if you do have to block with 2 cards, sometimes you have to block with 2 cards, and this gives you a little tiny benefit. So.
I guess if you're playing against Prism, you can side this in. I don't think it's going to be like, I don't think it blows her out or anything like that, but it does help. I know back in Monarch, when I play against Prisms, constantly they would just go, well, I'm preventing this, and I think it's because it was preventing it, you didn't get go again, and then you're just like, and they're like, no, you're done. Like, stop doing, your turn's done. And it really made it a difficult match.
Yeah, making it so damage this would deal can't be prevented. You're going to be ripping through some Spectral Shields, I think, too, so, and some Angels that have Ward. And the way Ward works in this game is it's just damage prevention, but if it can't be prevented, it tries to prevent it. It triggers its effect, but then it doesn't prevent it, but it still blows itself up. So you'll rip through,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you'll rip through Angels and you'll rip through Spectral Shields pretty good. So especially if you can get, if let's say they could have infinite Spectral Shields. Let's say they have 20. They have 20 Spectral Shields, and you come in for 4 damage. They sink below it, and then you play anything that gets over that, even by 1, you'll rip through every single Spectral Shield.
That's pretty handy.
So, when they can't be prevented, they all try to prevent it, and they all blow themselves up.
I kind of wish, maybe it's asking too much, I kind of wish it was a cost 0, kind of like Iron Song Determination, which is another yellow...
I think because it's so modal, because you have the unity effect, which is like a blocking thing, and you have the effect, and it blocks for 3, and it pitches for yellow, which isn't horrible in Dory. Sometimes you can get away with a 2 cost curve. So,
well, that's kind of the crazy thing now is just let's say you're getting desperate, you can pitch a yellow, swing, and do the Iron Song versus because for the 2 and just go okay, like. I either get 2 cards out of them or I get a courage token and pass.
I just want to say it's so exciting to talk to you about Flesh and Blood. I'm so happy.
It only took
almost a year of just straight.
Yeah, I think it was like 3 sets. I think was it Dynasty? Like when Dynasty first came out.
Or Uprising. I think it was Uprising was a bad one.
Uprising is the first one. Dynasty is a supplement. Okay, yeah.
Uprising was when we got a lot of ice. Mainly Icelander, so we had a little bit of ice with Oldham and Lexi, but then we had Icelander come out who's like, no, you're ice.
Well,
you're iced.
The irony was at the beginning, it was all Fi.
Yeah.
And I had no problem against Fi. I was doing really good against his matchups. You can actually race that deck. But any ice, and I was a sad crab for the rest of the day. So
isn't that just the case with blue decks in general? In like every card game, it's like in Magic, it's like no, I don't want to. I told this to my friends before. There are times where I play MTGA. Every now and again, I'll sneak into MTGA, even though Magic's not my favorite game. And as soon as I see an island hit the field, I'm like, nope, you got it.
No, just move on to the next one. You'd rather not have to pay for the therapy. So.
Which I know some Magic purists will say that's weak. You gotta beat the control deck, and I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm not going to a GP anytime soon.
No, I completely agree. It was the same way in Final Fantasy. If they were playing Ice Discard, you're just like, I didn't drive 3 hours out here for this. I'll just play someone else. So on that note, we also have the Dusk Till Dawn pre-release.
I went to my first one yesterday. It was interesting. Not a lot of us showed up. Won't go into too many specifics there, but no, it was interesting. You play some Monarch, which is a 2-year-old set at this point. So I mean, a lot of people are pretty well versed in Monarch. It was the first set that introduced Prism, Chain, Levia, and Bolton, which we've already talked about. And I think it's an okay set. I think it's a really fun set to draft. Because we didn't have enough people show up, we kind of did a sealed instead. But it was fun.
How many packs is sealed?
So sealed is 6 packs. Okay. You open 6 packs and you just build the best deck. Whereas, of course, draft is you get 3 packs, you open the pack, take 1 card and pass it until you have like at least a 30-card deck. I really do like draft in this game. Sealed, I don't. I think that's probably the case in most games that do a draft and sealed format. I think sealed is so much more like draft is already kind of like it matters what gets opened, but because you're seeing a whole box worth of packs in a draft. Granted, those packs get whittled down, but you are seeing like a whole box worth of packs, whereas in sealed you're just opening 6 and you make the best deck out of those 6 packs. It just does very much feel like more susceptible to like who opens what. Like if you get like a really good card, or if you get like a piece of equipment that's really good, or you don't get any equipment, which kind of happened to me in the second one. Like all my equipment was really bad, so it didn't really help me out. So I think draft is really, really good in Flesh and Blood, but I think as good as draft is like the complete opposite for sealed. Like I think sealed is like,
yeah. I also think like for most card games, the devs create some cards towards draft. I don't think they create any cards towards sealed. Like that wouldn't even make sense.
No, I think they probably test sealed, but it's like, is it like functional? Like I don't think they're like worried about balance. I don't think they're worried about like how good it is. I think they're just like, does it work? So that when we have like a pre-release for a draftable set, that the like pre-release functions, right? So, but unlike that, this is so Dusk Till Dawn. Let's go back. Dusk Till Dawn pre-release is a bit of a weird one because Dusk Till Dawn itself is what they call an expansion set now. And so that means it's not draftable, and it's got supplemental stuff for certain heroes. Now, in the past, this is also kind of a different take on supplemental sets, or expansion sets. Dusk Till Dawn only really supports the Monarch heroes. Now, granted, we got a new Shadow Runeblade, but that being said, it's pretty much the same class and talent breakdown.
It kind of replaces Chain.
But it's the same class and talent breakdown as Monarch. So it's like a true successor to the Monarch set, as opposed to Dynasty, Everfest, and Crucible of War, which were just like, here's a little bit for everyone. So some people are really happy about this set in terms of like if you were someone who was a fan of Monarch and those heroes, you're really happy about this set because you got a bunch of support. We got a new Prism, even though Prism's Living Legend. And again, for those that you don't know, if you come from other games, Living Legend is kind of our version of set rotation. Basically, as a hero gets enough points at certain sanctioned events, they will rotate out that hero though, not the entire card pool, just the hero.
Yeah, and their weapon, right?
Yep, and their weapon. So Prism actually Living Legend last year, so but we did get a new Prism with a new title and a different effect, so we get to use all the Prism cards again, and it's really exciting. I'm really happy about this set. The one little caveat I will give is that the first packs we opened of this set at the pre-release, they were Belgian print and they felt kind of flimsy. Honestly, it kind of felt like exactly how early Uprising felt, and those cards curled really easy. Like I have a picture I put on Twitter of so I have a binder of every set. And the overhead shot where you can see like all the sets up until Uprising, there's some curling, but most of them are relatively flat. And then Uprising is just like Pringles, in the pages. That's kind of what the Dusk Till Dawn cards feel like. Now I know that's not an LSS issue; that's more of a Cardamundi printer issue. But
yeah, printer issue, and being in Florida doesn't help either. But no, I can tell because like when Matt and I were cracking boxes for the store and stuff like that, you could definitely just kind of feel when we were first doing it the difference. So is it weird to you? I mean, this has nothing to do with the card quality, but like, is it weird to you that the Young Prism and the what do you call it, like Adult Prism? They have like different names. No,
so that was a huge source of confusion for people. Well, not confusion. What they thought was that the Adult Prism and the Young Prism would have two different effects because they're like, oh, they have different titles, right? But if you look at their naming conventions in the past, the Young hero always was just called Prism. And so that was how they differentiated it. It didn't have a title. But now that we already have a Young Prism that's just named Prism, so they couldn't do that again. We can't have two Prisms that have the exact same name. So all they did was they gave both a title. And they can't have the same title, right? Because they can't be the same card.
Yeah, I mean, now that I think about it, I guess that's kind of like when they did the new Dorinthia. It was like Quicksilver Prodigy or something like that.
Yeah, and Arachne did it more recently as well. So we had the Arachne, which is just Young Arachne in Dynasty. came out in Dynasty. And then in Outsiders, we got the new Young Arachne for Draft, which you can use in Blitz as well. But it was Arachne Solitary Confinement.
Oh, okay. I was not aware of that one. Okay.
Yeah, and his artwork's metal as hell.
And then, of course, at the Haven over here in Castleberry, Florida, we will have our own pre-release at 2 o'clock.
Today?
Yeah, and I think we have a bunch of people already signed up, so that should be a blast. But yeah, hopefully the set turns out great. I do hope all the supported heroes, anywhere from Leviat, all the Monarch heroes possible, either they get new lines of play or they improve or it's just more fun.
Well, I'll say this about Leviat in that vein. Leviat has one of the coolest new mechanics I've ever seen in a card game. Would you like me to elaborate?
I was like, I know she can turn off Blood Debt now.
Do you know how she turns off Blood Debt?
I don't fully understand how demi heroes work, but if you would like to, that's gross.
So Leviat, if you don't know, it's a character that was kind of memed on for a long time because she would have these games where she's very much in control, right? She's hitting you really hard. All her attacks are really overstated. They have an additional cost of banishing cards, but there's another effect that the Shadow Heroes have called Blood Debt. And so Blood Debt says if this card exists in your banished zone, you lose a life, right? And one of her effects was that a lot of the additional cost was you would banish cards from your graveyard or your hand or wherever, and that would contribute to your Blood Debt. But if you banished an attack with 6 or more power, then it would turn off Blood Debt for the turn, right? So what would happen is she would get to this point late game where she would have to block with most of her hand, can't banish a blood, so she's screwed one way or the other, right? Either she takes the attack in the face so that she can turn off Blood Debt and probably dies anyway, or she blocks with her entire hand or like less than one card, and then she just dies her own Blood Debt, right? By the late game, you have like 14 cards of Blood Debt, you just take 14 damage and you die. So LSS did something really cool, and we'll have the card probably on its own on the screen, but you have it's a flip card, so there's two sides you can turn into that kind of help you with the dying to your own Blood Debt situation. It's a really cool thematic way to do it, right? So the first one is going to be Blasphemafet, Leviat Consumed. So this is basically what happens if you let the Blood Debt consume you. So the way this works is that if you tick your life down to 13 due to Blood Debt, now Blood Debt ticks 1 life per card, so it's not like if you have 14 life and you have 14 Blood Debt, you just die before this happens. You would tick 1, this triggers, and then you're now in that. Mode. So, okay. And so what happens is this says while this is in your inventory, when Blood Debt reduces your life to 13, you may transform into Blasphemafet Leviat Consumed. Once each turn, you may play a card with Blood Debt from your banished zone. Whenever a card is put into your banished zone, turn it face down. If you would lose life from Blood Debt, instead banish the top card of your deck. So what this does is it gives you a couple turns before you deck out, right? So instead of taking Blood Debt damage, you actually just mill yourself. More Blood Debt, more cards. But you're also making it so that you're not adding to your Blood Debt, you're just going to keep milling your cards very fast. And so what it also does is it gives you the ability to play cards with Blood Debt from your banished zone, which is really, really good. But you're only going to be able to, if I'm reading this correctly, and this is the way I think it works, you're only going to be able to do it once per card.
Because I was like, that sounds kind of familiar.
But once it gets banished, again, it gets turned face down, right? So it's no longer a Blood Debt card, and you can't use it again.
Okay.
So people are speccing on a lot of cards right now, like the Guardian of the Shadow Realm card that has Blood Debt. So that's a 6 defense reaction that they couldn't really utilize before.
Yeah.
Now they can just play that out of their banished zone when they're Leviat Consumed.
Which
that's really, really good.
Was like a 10-cent card, but I mean, to be fair, like it was kind of unplayable. Not completely unplayable, but like, no, it definitely has more use here. All that seems cool. Both sides of the card, the art is really cool. There's just one complaint I have on this. Can you guess what I do not like about this? It's that little yellowish circle on the bottom.
What's wrong with that? It's a one-of.
Because
you gotta have chase.
Kind of like with Dynasty, or not Dynasty, Uprising. When your pull was that $12 Emperor, you were just kind of like,
I think this card will be very good, and I think it's actually going to be a decently sought after legendary, and it also comes in Marvel, which will be like.
Oh, I'm sure the Marvel, kind of like the Emperor, will be well cherished. I don't know. I'm just like, I just don't think character. Well, this isn't a character. This is more of like a tool or something like that.
And every Levia needs it. If you play Levia, there's no reason not to run this card. So we have to get to the other side real quick too. So this is Levia Redeemed. This one's a little different. This one is basically if you have 13 Blood Debt cards in your Banished, you can activate her ability from your inventory, which again, your inventory is like your side deck. It's like when you side cards out and the cards that you didn't put in your deck, that's your inventory.
Okay.
So you activate this ability. You turn into Levia Redeemed, which is a new hero with 8 health and 4 intellect. So basically, if you were at 1 life, you'll actually go back to 8.
That could be
kind of like if you've ever played Hearthstone, it's exactly like Jiraxis. So
it wasn't
you first Jiraxis.
Oh no. Yeah, no, you're right. I was gonna say, was Ragnaros at 8 health, and I was like, no, he just hits you for 8. That was.
He might have also been at 8 when you turn into Ragnaros. I don't remember.
All right. Well,
anyway,
we'll check on it. But
so very much like Jiraxis, but basically what this does is she just turns off all your Blood Debt cards. So turn all your cards in your Banished Zone face down, transform into Levia Redeemed. Activate this ability only while this is in your inventory and you have 13 or more cards of Blood Debt in your Banished Zone. Cards you own lose Blood Debt. So this is very interesting because it basically says you don't take Blood Debt for the rest of the game, but you're at 8 life, right? So you're probably very much in the end game, but you can't die to Blood Debt. Something else to note, this is an action that doesn't have Go Again, and in Flesh and Blood you get 1 action point. Unless something has Go Again or gives you extra action points. So this does take your action for the turn. But basically, Levia Redeemed, the way I look at it, is a panic button. You're like, I can't pay Blood Debt this game or this turn, and I don't want to die. So I'm going to activate this ability and become Levia Redeemed.
But essentially, you always have this in your deck, right? Because you can just put it in your side deck, even if you don't want it in your main.
And it's important to note, this is a flip card, right? You can turn into one or the other. So either the Blasphemous Consumed Levia or this Levia Redeemed. And I think this is just mind-blowing design space. It's so cool.
So, like, lore-wise, have they explained?
Yeah, there's a whole thing about, like...
Not that you have to go into it.
Yeah, and, like, the Levia Consumed having 13 life and the other one carrying about 13 blood debt. There's something that has to do... It's like there was 13, like, apostles that, like... cared about Solana or something.
Oh, okay. And I was going to say 13's typically, like... a unlucky bad number anyway, but yeah.
It was something about like there's 13 people from Solana that didn't agree with Solana and they were murdered by the Solanian
that's
government.
Nice. That's not
and so the last one like escaped to form the Demonastery or something like that.
Oh, so this is like way back in the old days.
Yeah,
okay.
So there is a lore reason, and I'm probably butchering that, but I
well, at least like, if you're interested, I'm sure it's in the archives or whatever they call it.
Yeah, they finally actually on the main website they actually put an actual lore tab finally, so all the stories are together. You don't have to like not even like it was like a month ago I think they added it, but before that you had to like, all right, well this article came out in May of 2022 like cycling back articles. But they finally put them all together. So if you want to read the story, which is actually pretty cool, there's one story called Morlock Hill where Dory goes Super Saiyan, and
is that where that one Majestic's from?
Which Majestic?
There's a new Warrior Majestic where you can basically toss Minerva off a cliff.
Oh, that is actually where it's from. It's called Morlock Hill. Yeah. So she sacrifices herself in a way, and it's kind of really awesome. They added a card that does that. It's only going to be a Blitz card because that's the only time you can play Minerva. Mm-hmm. But basically, you can get rid of Minerva, and anytime you would take fatal damage, you don't take fatal damage. she's like, like. It's like the other card from Hearthstone where he's like, get down!
The secret, yeah. I forgot what it's called, but yeah.
The Paladin Secret, it's like, get down!
It's like a 2-cost.
A 2/1 comes in. Alright, I think...
I just had flashbacks, but okay, yeah.
So that, maybe that wraps up for Flesh and Blood, I guess. Yeah. We talked about it pretty good, but we have pre-release, new set coming out, lots of excitement. Nationals is like next month for US. It's in August. Yeah,
August?
It's in August.
Okay.
It's like one of the first ones, and that's in Vegas. It's gonna be a good time. I don't think I'm going, but a lot of people from our shop are going. So, lots of fun stuff in Flesh and Blood. If you guys haven't played it, you should definitely give it a try. But we're gonna move on to the other game we're playing, Shadowverse.
Yes, Shadowverse. We have our locals have been exploding. Product has been like getting really difficult to find. In fact, I think all across the country and maybe even Europe. Prices are going up on boxes. Initially, I think people were very like, oh, it's a niche game and blah, blah, blah. So boxes were like 50.
Can I just say, I make the Haven much money.
I was ramping up to that. So I think that was, quote, like the first wave or the first allotment that distribution was sending out. And then very quickly, I think after the weekend, no one had boxes anymore. And they're like, we need more because people are actually enjoying this. So now boxes are at 70, 75. I have a couple of friends who are store owners in California. They are going to 80, 85, which for 16 packs, you are starting to get into like $5, $6 Magic territory.
Yeah, I can't do that.
But I guess if you want store owners, if you want it bad enough, I guess, or people will offer it. Whatever.
Listen, if people are buying it, I understand. This is capitalist America.
Yes.
But I would say if you're a player looking to get in the game, I would refrain from buying $80 boxes. I think they're not really worth it at that point.
Yeah, I think 70 is the cap, and after that, you just buy singles.
I think the boxes were perfectly priced at $60. I think that's a really good price. There's only 16 packs, and so if I extrapolate that to like a even like a Flesh and Blood box, that's 8 more packs, so 50% more would be $90. Mm-hmm. That's about right? That's about what a Flesh and Blood box costs for most people.
Yep.
And so that's kind of where I'm at, thinking that. So $60 is like really happy for me. I understood 65, 70 is really pushing it, where I'm probably priced out of buying a 16-pack box.
Yep.
But I get it. But then, yeah, getting to 80 and 85, that's wild.
Yeah. And there... Which, as far as I know, there is already a second wave coming, so that may bring it down.
I think Bushiroad just did not expect it. I mean, if we look at other Bushiroad games, I'm sure they all do fairly well. Like, I know Cardfight Vanguard's still out there. I know there's a decent Weiss Schwarz community. I think Shadowverse, though, is just on another level. I've seen the memes from the... There's been some memes that have come out from the most recent news thing they did, the news stream.
Oh, for the
and it's the meme of the lady in the pool with the baby.
Oh, yeah.
And the other kids like drowning, and it was like the meme was the lady was Bushiroad and the baby she was holding was Shadowverse. Mm-hmm. And then like it was like Cardfight Vanguard was the drowning baby, and then the bottom one, the skeleton, was Weiss.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. Like, Bushiroad was just like, oh, we actually have a hit card game this time. Like, people care, and we've really seen it. I mean, you touched on it already, but I was not expecting 19 people at a starter deck locals at Haven. That was really good.
We had 22, and then 2 people had to leave because they brought constructed decks.
That was kind of funny. My first round, it was happening to me. I was like, they were playing a bunch of forest cards, and I was like, this is really difficult. Like, these cards seem really good. And then finally, like, it was like turn 5 or 6, she drops Bellringer Angel, and I was like, all right, so this is a starter deck tournament. Like, we can keep playing, but like, your deck's not really legal for what we're doing. But
although I think people wish Bellringer was in a starter deck, because everyone is chasing those, especially the premium copy. I think is like at like $35.
Yeah, what doesn't help is that I just saw a tournament list come out today before I came over here. There was a list being posted from some big tournament, either in Singapore. I think it was Singapore. Mm-hmm. They're on pack 6, right? They follow the Japan meta. So they're on set 6.
Okay.
And 2 of the top lists, I looked at 3 lists, and 2 of them were running 3 Bellringer Angel. Mm-hmm. So it's still a good card. I don't think it's seen any real reprints in Japan. That being said, there's no telling that they could, throw it as a promo in the store kind of thing, but we don't know that. Just saying that I think you should definitely pick them up. I'm going to, throw more coals in the fire to try to just let you know that as we are promoting the game, Bellringer is something that you're probably going to want if you plan to play in any kind of competitive sense. Now, there's some decks that don't play it, but for the most part, it's a tool that you want. Don't really know when the reprint would be outside of set 1, so I would just pick up your set as soon as possible.
I'm actually, I got my 3 as fast as I could. I still don't know if I'm going to play it right now, just in this current deck, but anytime I'm considering it, there's no downside to it. I just don't know.
It's a weird late game card sometimes, but yeah, other than that, it's like...
Oh, it would have helped when you rushed me with your 3 Street Sharks for... How much? Do they hit for 7 or 9?
7.
So 21 damage after you like time warped or whatever
Flame Leviathan, I think.
Oh, from our...
No, I'm trying... No, that's the name of the card.
Is it?
It's like Flame something. Flame Destroyer.
Oh, I thought you were referencing Hearthstone because there was that 7/7.
Let's just rename the podcast.
I was like, that sounds familiar. But either way, having a ward at all is nice, and then having a draw card is always a bonus. But anyways, they did make a big announcement on their stream. I don't remember the name. You do know it?
Yeah,
I like calling it Horsey, but
it is Horse Girls. It's Uma Musume.
Do you know that? Does that directly translate?
Yes, it does. It just means horse daughter.
Okay.
Like Musume is daughter and Uma is horse.
And you know more about this than I do, so I'll just ask some questions. Is it a supplement set, or is it like, no, this is its own set with its own
So
deck
it's what
theme?
they're calling a collaboration pack. It is a full set. The way it works is if you're playing an Uma deck, so a horse deck or whatever, you can play any class, but it has to be Uma cards. So there's a bunch of like there's like rune Uma cards, sword Uma cards, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
But if you're playing the Uma deck, you have to be playing full Uma cards. You can't like grab from other sets.
Okay.
But for all the other people playing not Uma decks, you can still play those rune cards in your rune deck. You can still play the sword cards.
As long as it aligns with what you're doing. Okay.
It's a really interesting set. I know it's really powerful. I mean, I know it when it came out in Japan, it created kind of this tier 0 format of just Uma decks, pretty much. Mm-hmm. I think they're doing a lot to kind of fix that, right? So it's coming out after set 2 or after set 3.
Yeah, I heard people say after set 3, and apparently that was a big relief. Is that different than the JP?
Yeah, so it came out between sets 2 and 3, and they're also limiting 2 cards. Now, I don't remember what those cards are off the top of my head right now. I could probably flash them up on the screen for you when I'm editing this, but they are limiting 2 cards, so it's just really nice to see that Bushiroad. This is my first Bushiroad game. I tried Cardfight Vanguard, and I was like, it's okay, but I didn't really get into it. But with this game, I'm really excited for it. I know it's Cygames and Bushiroad. Like Cygames is more the actual developer of the game, and Bushiroad is more of the publisher. Mm-hmm. But I think seeing what they're doing by limiting cards ahead of time. I mean, the set doesn't come out till December, and they're already saying like these 2 cards will be limited. So
well, yeah, kind of with what you're saying. I know on the Facebook group, there are 2 sides right now. Well, more like 3 sides, but people saw it and immediately panicked, and they're like, I don't know if I'm going to go through what Japan and Singapore went through. It's like not worth investing in. And other people were like, no, if they're already preemptively on it, it should, like, they're obviously aware of it. They're not just doing like a blanket reprint and going along with it. I think Cosmore said that the Searcher was getting limited, which is like a really big deal. Probably.
I mean, that's my other experience is in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I can tell you most of the time the card that fetches the good card is the card that gets hit. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it's because it just makes consistency a little too high, where you just have 3 copies of the Searcher, you search the one, and you can like you can pretty much limit the good card down to like 1 or 2 copies because you have 3 Searchers, so you'll search it with you have 3 Searchers that you can play early, fetch the good card, and go on with your day. So hitting consistency, I think, is a good thing. You still want power plays. Like, we're still playing a card game, right? You still want things that feel really good when you play them. So, no, I don't know enough about it to know whether or not those hits are good enough. I will say this, that, like, get good. Like, I don't know. I do really subscribe to that. Like, who's to say that this is even, like, we could have a totally different format, right? Like, I understand we're following the same sets as Japan, but what's good in America isn't always the same because we have different play styles, we have different things we lean towards. We may be more aggro than they are. We may be more control. Who knows? So...
Well, I mean, today, for example, will be very interesting at our locals because we're doing our very first constructed Shadowverse locals, but I was reading those, like... entries that someone wrote, we can put the link in later on, but from like Singapore, and they were like, week 1 everybody was on Dragoncraft, and if you weren't, like, no one really knew what they were doing. They were just trying it out. Today I feel like we're gonna have a ton of Blade.
I'm on Rune.
and there's going to be Rune, and I know there's at least one Forest Craft. I think Joe and I will be on Dragon, but I think because there's much more knowledge going in,
visibility to it.
The spread will be a lot better. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Espira TCG, is that his name? Espira? I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. It's the other big Shadowverse content creator I've been watching a lot of. He just put out a video of him in Cosmic.
Oh, yeah.
Fighting.
Yeah.
So I think he said it really well. I think it was him. I'm sorry if it wasn't. But basically he says, like, Japan will discover it, and then America gets to refine it. So there's a good chance that, like, where Japan, like, basically we get to start at Japan's endpoint for each format. So wherever they ended a format is where, like, our format will begin. And then there's still a chance for it to learn, like, evolve and grow from there. So I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to play tonight. I'm super excited to play tonight. Actually, I'm, like, been itching to, like, actually play in a tournament. So I'm going with my OTK Flame Destroyer.
It works, yeah. And then other than that, they announced some, like, well, not only that.
We got set 3.
Yeah.
Set 3 was announced.
We got set 3 announced. Our locals, the Haven Games also we're officially an OP store, so we'll be getting promos. They also announced there are other promos. I think it's for, like, store championships or something along those lines. I think it's it was a nuke spell. I forgot what it was. It does, like, 3 damage.
There's the Angelic Snipe is one of them, and then the other one was Demonic Snipe. It's another snipe.
It's like demonic attack or something. Yeah.
Yeah. It costs 3. It does 3. It does. I don't know.
I'm sure we can put the images up.
But they're alternate arts, so I'm really
they looked really cool. So looking forward to that. And then and we'll probably report next week on how our locals went.
And maybe we'll have more games.
Yeah,
let's go. Yeah.
And then other than that, let's see. Today's the 8th, so in about 3 weeks, the Haven will be hosting one of the first Grand Archive regionals.
Still super excited for Grand Archive regionals. I mean, it comes out well before Fractured Crown, so it's a bit of a solved meta. Right?
Yeah, and with it's like 3 weeks before Fractured Crown, so this should be like, this is how we're going to sum up the meta of the set. I think right now we're at around like 58, 59 people.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, we're really happy with that.
I am so curious to see the meta breakdown for that tournament. I'm really wondering if it's going to be like, so let's say it ends with like 70 people, right? Or starts with 70 people. I'm really curious to see if it's like 60 Lorraine and like 3 Rye and then some other stuff, or if if someone like found something that can. We keep hearing about this like deck that just wrecks Lorraine, so we have to just see what happens.
The interesting thing is that it'd be very easy to go, top 8 will be 8 Lorraines. We do have people traveling from all over the country. There may be locals that aren't very vocal, and they're playing some crazy decks that have solved kind of like busting up Wind or Fire Lorraine. We could also just get a ton of people that get lucky on Rhapsody or something, and they just nuke their way to
it will be best of 3, so I mean that's a little difficult for Rhapsody. Usually they can sneak out that game one win, and then you can kind of side into like some hate for it, and you kind of just run it over.
I would definitely recommend to players who don't even have Lantern in their side deck to
think about it,
to definitely consider it.
Put it on that list.
Yeah.
You just made the list.
But we will also have the supporter packs, which right now is kind of a drama-filled fiasco, at least on Facebook, because people are trying to sell the packs for like $80, $90, $100 a pack. Which
what are we talking about?
The supporter packs.
Yes.
With like the alt arts and all that. Because people bought them at the convention for $30, and then they're like, "Well, we'll just raise it by like 300%. That's easy."
I mean, did you expect anything different?
No.
We already talked about capitalist America.
I will say this: the people who have been posting, and maybe it's not entirely fair to them because it is like a marketplace, but people have been very vocal about how they feel about that. They're like, "You're charging $90 for this. That's insane." Now, here's the thing, though: but people also charge $1,200 for like a full art. They can charge whatever they want. To be fair, just don't buy it, and the price will go down because if they're only aiming to flip it, they have to get rid of it at some point. So, But we will have those. We'll be charging the mandatory $30. That is what Weebs told us to charge.
Yeah, because you guys are like a first-party seller of that.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not like you're not selling it on the secondary marketplace. You're like officially offering it as a product via Weebs of the Shore. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
Like, yeah.
they give us a whole breakdown. We're going to evenly distribute the packs amongst how many people we have, and then if someone's like, nah, I don't want it, at the end of the event we'll be like, hey, we have this many packs left. Who wants like another go at it? That way, one person doesn't show up and pull out their credit card and buy everything. It's not going to be like that. We're also, I believe, getting deck boxes and a few other goodies, odds and ends and stuff like that. Anywho, come out July 29th. That's a Saturday. It'll be at around 10:30, I believe. It's like, or it might be 11, but
Still running out Armory that day.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
I remember during our it was like right when we first opened and we had the re-raise event. Mm-hmm. There was like 100 Final Fantasy players in there, and then there was one table of 4 of Flesh and Blood players. And I was like, no, you still get your Armory promos. Just hang in there. I felt bad for them. They were all squeezed in like this, and they're like, okay, Arsenal.
They're in the corner.
But hey, credit to them. They still came out, and despite it being like 1 billion degrees in there.
We're a dedicated bunch.
Yes, you are. Yes. Yes.
And I think on that note,
I don't know why you said Fabbers, and
that's
I thought
because you said it.
Well, yeah, but Slappers Only popped in my head from like GoldenEye.
Oh.
With like Oddjob running around.
Can we just turn the podcast into this?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, you can't pick Oddjob. That's cheating.
Oh, no. Oh, well.
You can't aim down in the N64 controller.
Yeah, but his head is more exposed, so it's fine.
Yeah, but you have to like. If I have to kill Oddjob, I have to like stop moving, click the right trigger, slowly. Meanwhile, he's like.
I know it's been 25 years, but maybe Rare and Nintendo will put a ban list on.
Oh my god! So I actually, funny enough, I went to go play that game. It's funny you even mentioned it. I went to go play that game, and I just was like, I was on the first mission, and I got to the part where you get the sniper rifle on the tower, like really early on. And I tried to snipe the people that are in the bunker, and I was like, "How the fuck do you aim this thing?"
Oh, the dam. That's what.
Yeah, and so not only can you not aim right, like it's so hard to aim on the N64 controller with one joystick. They tried to make it realistic by making him have like head bobbing.
Oh, he's breathing. You know, it's like... nobody's perfect. What can I say to you? You're getting old.
I was like, how did I play this game? And then I remember how I played this game. I got the AK-47 and just ran around, just like ran into people.
Yeah. This is gonna be an article. It's like old man tries sniping on 64 game. No, all right.
Anyway, like and subscribe for more content like this.
Yes. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for watching.